risk tolerance and interest. What else gets you excited about the investing piece of it?
I just had a chance to start my class at Booth this past week, and that's how I open up the class. Is like, why is venture exciting? So I'll give you some of my reasons. One is you just constantly are learning, and you're learning about really neat things, the edge of technology. Two, you're helping create jobs, a tax base, an important part of the U.S. economy, and how we compete across the world. Three, and this might be the most fulfilling one, is you get to work with founders who are trying to accomplish their dream. They're trying to accomplish
Right.
solving some pretty important problems for many of them. And I had the opportunity to see a founder who we backed who had a really successful exit recently. Who decided to had kind of accomplished a lot of his dreams at a pretty young age, early 50s, and was saying to me, he was just really satisfied with how much that he has really accomplished this dream he's had since he was 14. And in some ways it was like, now what for him?
Mhm.
But it was a lot of satisfaction to me to see that for someone who is very smart, who solved the real problem for lots of people, in at the same time accomplish a dream of theirs, a lifelong dream. I'd say the other reasons is working with really, really smart people who challenge me. There's also a huge amount of variety every day in the types of
Right.
things I have to do and the types of skills that are needed and how I'm challenged. There's certainly opportunity for wealth building. It's much more on the founder side. Venture capital is maybe a way to get wealthy over it takes a really long
That's
time.
all.
Uh,
All right.
it is not a way to get rich fast, but certainly that's an aspect of it. And I get to marry the two things I'm very passionate about, which is the technology and the finance. So you put all those things together, and then ultimately realizing like I'm betting on myself. And I've been in a corporate job, I've worked at a startup, and ultimately what I found in those experiences is that there I do better when I'm betting on myself. When the translation of the outcome and the results is more based on what I'm doing and my input and my success rather than what's happening in the larger corpus of the business or in the
Right.
economy generally. Like that or what's happening in my peer group of people who started with me and other random factors, that was frustrating in the corporate world. Whereas here, it's just much more of a clean translation. A lot of luck, let me be clear about that. But
Right.
but ultimately, that was also something I realized about myself, like loving being an underdog and loving betting on myself.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I can definitely relate to that as well. My experience working with teams, over the years, it was just a collection of everything that I was learning and putting it together into the Peak operating system, Peak OS. I'm sure everybody formulates a methodology. Like I was formulating that methodology before I actually knew I was going to bring it to market. And then I made a very specific decision to bring that to market and to really put it together. But what's your methodology, or at a high level, like what's your methodology around investing, and like what are you looking for? What are those kind of elements for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's one that every time I have a chance to meet investors who I admire, I ask a similar question. My first job when I meet a company is to really understand its strategy. Ultimately, how I evaluate the company is different based on the strategy, based on the stage, right?
Mm.
So a company that's trying to become, let's say, a low cost provider, for example, I really care about how they maintain that low cost advantage. I mean, there's a lot of other things that matter, but until I answer that question, everything else is somewhat irrelevant,
Hmm.
right? If it's a technology company that's going to win based on superior technology, I want to understand, can they defend that advantage? Does the market care? There's a lot of better technology out there that the market doesn't care, won't pay more for. And does it work? So I know those three questions once I identify the strategy. If I'm not sure about the strategy, I can waste a lot of time evaluating a deal, may not get to the right questions, right? And
Hmm.
ultimately, my job as an investor is to assess the risk and reward. And are those two things in balance? Or maybe they're out of balance in my favor as an investor.
All
But
right.
those are the types of situations that if I don't understand the strategy, I really can't make that assessment.